This is a analysis, you could call it that, of the episode of Kitchen Nightmares featuring ABC Bakery, Amy's Bakery Company, located in Scottsdale, Arizona. My first thought about that is that even if the restaurant owner was only Sammy, a person who admitted taking or stealing, as some have characterized it, the tips from the waiters and waitresses in the restaurant, going blatantly against the standard custom in the United States, where it's customary to tip the servers anywhere from 10 to 20% depending on the service. And these tips, I don't know if the legislation or the legality of it, but it's certainly a standard custom to tip the servers, and also it's socially understood that the servers keep the tips, that when a tip is left or given, that the tip is specifically for that server, because the amount of the tip tends to be dependent on the quality of the service and the satisfaction that the customer has with the service that the server has provided. So here's the person, Sammy, even if he is the only owner of the restaurant, admits to taking the tips, not letting the servers keep their own tips. Moreover, admitting to Gordon Ramsay that he is a gangster, and it's known that he is from Las Vegas. These factors alone would make for quite a interesting and perhaps even scandalous episode of Kitchen Nightmares, even if Amy were not in the picture at all and he was the sole owner. Now you bring Amy into the scenario, and really it becomes psychosocially overwhelming. Amy's behavior, to put it in the most polite possible term, I would characterize as nonsense. Other people on the internet have said, used other terms such as psycho, batshit crazy, things like this. I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist. I can't speak to that. But one thing I did notice when I was watching the video on YouTube is I did notice that Amy, at one point in part 2 of the video that I watched, I'm not sure if you can see this, about 7 minutes and 42 seconds into the video, there's a point where she fires one of the servers. And that act in itself, and the reason for it, I'm not going to talk about, but there was a scene of her speaking after that incident where she was basically justifying and characterizing what she had done. And there was a look in her eyes that I found to be disturbing. To put it another way, it sent chills up my spine. As she was speaking, her eyes maintained a couple of looks that I personally wouldn't characterize as normal. I would almost call it otherworldly. If you look at the look in her eyes here, and maybe it's better to show more of a close-up. Like so. Let me zoom in. Now this is really a look that I found to be disturbing. And during the whole few seconds that she spoke in that segment, 7 minutes and 40 seconds, she maintained this same look in her eyes, regardless of what she was saying. Very morbidly interesting to watch. Let me see if I have another shot of of her eyes like that. Here's another one. Some might call this a crazed look. I just find it to be morbidly interesting. And during that same few seconds that she was talking about her firing of the server, there was also another look that I noticed, and that is this one. Now this is almost the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this look in her eyes is her eyes are almost rolling back into her head as if experiencing some sort of intense pleasure, maybe even orgasm or some sort of an orgasmic look. And it brings to my mind how I've read that narcissists, many of them, tend to derive a lot of pleasure from creating drama, creating tension, creating chaos around them. And so this, perhaps this look in her eyes, which is a kind of thrilled, intense, pleasurable type of look, maybe it's somehow related to that. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a doctor or psychologist or psychiatrist or anything like that. But anyway, just wanted to give my take on this most fascinating episode of Kitchen Nightmares I've ever watched. I haven't watched many of them, but that's it.